Ben, with Ben Stokes not playing the last 2 test matches of the series, Zak Crawley coming in to bat at 3 is the most likely outcome. Do you think Zak Crawley's in the top 6 batsmen in England?
Yeah, well, it's a leading question, but it also is the right question. Really, we should be asking. I think no is the answer. It's an odd situation England have found themselves in, where they you understood why they included him for the squad for New Zealand, because it's a tour that didn't really matter. You could sort of get a youngster in and around the team, and then ends up playing a game, and is all of a sudden the kind of next in line. Sticks around with South Africa, plays a couple of games there. He does okay. Did pretty well in the first test of summer, but he just has very little first-class runs and weight of runs to fall back on, which is what you need in the tough times. People to look back and say, oh yeah, this is why he got in the first place. If he scores fewer than 23 runs in the next test, I think his average will dip below 30. His first-class average. Test average is already quite a long way below there. So it's asking quite a lot of him to sort of significantly outperform his first-class record in Test cricket, which is what they're basically wanting him to do at the moment. And there are a lot of not as young options, but options in county cricket, like Gary Ballance, Sam Northeast, who have either been tried before with some success or have churned out the runs for ages. There's Dan Lawrence in the squad, who has more first-class numbers behind him. There's a lot of people who've been tried and sort of discarded at Test level. There are other options. It's not as if England's cupboard is bare. So it is a strange situation. But yeah, expect him to come back in, even though it's just an odd one. Yeah,
I kind of feel like however good Zak Crawley is and might be, he'd be better off scoring lots of runs in county cricket. So one of the reasons I think Ollie Pope is as good as he is now is because he's had 2 seasons where he's scored bucket loads of runs for Surrey, and there's a skill in just compiling big innings that I think Pope has and Crawley still need to learn, however good he is. And I also think that had he not been selected in the first place for New Zealand and then South Africa, no one would have been like, where's Zak Crawley? There wouldn't be a bandwagon of people saying, banging the door, saying Zak Crawley needs to play in the England team. I think that he wouldn't be in the discussion at all.
Yeah, and actually the perfect entrance into an England team is to play like a couple of low-key tests, go away, get loads of runs, and then come back. Like with Ollie Pope, I think it really helped that he wasn't making his debut when he returned to New Zealand, because there's not that same hype around a guy who's played 2 tests and come back. Especially because in England, we're actually pretty kind to debutants. We almost overhype them. Like Ollie Pope scored, a couple of 20s. Everyone's like, oh, he really looks the part, because we're so excited for that to be the case. But in Zak Crawley's case, I think that's kind of meant that he's kept his spot, and people aren't really questioning why it's him rather than someone else, I suppose.
And any other changes do you think England will make for the second test?
Yeah, well, obviously, as we've kind of discussed, Ben Stokes isn't just a brilliant all-rounder. He is one of the best batsmen in the world, and Zak Crawley is not that at the moment, even if you think he is in the top 6 batsmen in England. So they are probably going to want to bolster their lower order batting. They might consider it, which might mean Sam Curran could come in. And at the moment, that means, weirdly, because you'd have had them as England's first choice by a distance at the start of the summer, that one of Archer or Anderson will miss out. Anderson has the worst record this summer, but has bowled pretty well, has just been quite unlucky. I think some cricket stats show that his expected average is really good, while Archer has bowled very quickly, sporadically. Mostly his pace has been down on what it was last summer, while still quicker than Broad and Anderson. It's a really tough one. I don't know, what would you do, I guess?
Well, on Sam Curran, I think it's interesting because England have won 8 out of 8 tests that Curran has played at home. Yeah. Whenever he plays, he's really good. He's effective.
Averages 22 with the ball at home, I think.
Exactly. He's brilliant in the home test matches, but when you're trying to think of a team, he normally doesn't fit into the team, but when he actually does play, then how do we ever leave this guy out? So I think Curran will come in for what you said, but also I think they've said at the start of the summer they'll rotate the seamers as well. So I think just for that, Curran will come in. On Archer, why do you think he hasn't been as good in 2020 as he was in 2019? Because in 2019 he was brilliant, not just in the World Cup, but in the Ashes as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are so many reasons it could be, and because of those, it's hard to disentangle kind of like the fact from the fiction, I suppose. I mean, all the things that might be contributing. It could be that Joe Root doesn't quite know how to use him, so Archer possibly is maybe not almost fearing or gearing up for bowling a long spell, so he's not unleashing fully at the beginning. Maybe he just feels that on the surfaces he's playing on, that those aren't the ones. He said that it wasn't the surface to bend your back on in the first test against Pakistan, and he's a smart enough bowler who to be able to figure out those kind of things. And I think that's almost what's surprised England last summer, was that they didn't just have this tearaway. They had this supremely skillful bowler who could take wickets in a variety of ways, not just by blasting batsmen out. And maybe it's just a form issue where I mean, there's no bowler in the world really who is able to reach those kind of speeds every single time they go out to bowl. Sometimes your rhythm's not quite there. And the fact is that even when Archer's rhythm isn't there, he is still a very good containing bowler. He's not letting England down. The run rate's not going. He's not bowling loads of bad balls. He's just not hitting 90 miles an hour, and he's not blowing sides away. So I think, like, as much as the England will want to solve the Jofra Archer problem, if you like, it is not so serious as a problem as to, like, push him too far down the pecking order, I think.
And how do you think James Anderson's career will end? We were talking about this in the office earlier on, and I don't think he's ever going to retire kind of when he's still doing really well. And do you think he'll be phased out? Or do you think that we'll see him after this summer? Because as you say, he's bowled all right. It just England have so many options.
Yeah, it's a really odd one, because I think a few years ago, looking at it, you kind of thought it would be possibly a more sudden drop off when he'd kind of become unpickable, but it's been like actually really a very minor drop off, and Wokes has improved, Broad has improved, Archer's emerged, that has all of a sudden meant that Anderson is like not first choice and perhaps even like definitely second choice. And I think what's interesting,
especially away from home as well,
that's the thing, is like even if Anderson plays the next two tests or one of the next two tests, and if he gets in that squad for India, he's going to be what, fifth or sixth choice in the seam attack there. He may well not play a game and just be carrying drinks the whole time. I mean, and at that point, England might kind of say to him, like, look, mate, we're looking towards the future. You can have your swan song in the final game. We're not going to pick you again. So maybe just kind of retire, and we can kind of shake hands on it. Or they'll kind of say to themselves, well, if Anderson is happy just being around, he just likes playing cricket, likes touring, wants to get as many games as possible, even if that means he only plays one or two more in the future, then why not let him do that? Or you almost wonder if, like, the kindest solution for all parties would always be for Anderson to, like, get a side train or something in the next, like, between the test matches.
That's a bit harsh.
But you can see the logic, can't you? Then almost no one ends up affronted in that situation. It's just what ends up making sense for everyone. You kind of, Anderson would have to take more stock then, rather than competing for his place. And it's worth reiterating as well, like, how rare it is for a seam bowler to go this long. So like, I love James Anderson. I want him to go on for as long as possible, but just like looking at the stats, like, very, very few seamers this century have taken wickets age 38 and over, which Anderson now is. And if he plays next summer, he'll be 39. I think Richard Hadley was the last test seamer to take a wicket at the age of 39. That was in 1991, 92. So it's very rare what Anderson is doing. So every test is almost an achievement in itself, and it's a testament to him that he's maintained in contention in a very strong England attack. And then finally, Ollie Robinson's been drafted into the England squad. To the people who've not seen him bowl, do you think they should be excited by him? He's a big guy, but he's not maybe as quick as some of the other guys England have tried out in recent years. Yeah, I think they really should be. I mean, first of all, in the Lions game in Australia early this year, which is the first time I think Lions have beaten Australia
ever anywhere in the world.
Yeah. He was the main role in that game. Was it 7 wickets he took, I think?
Yeah, across the match.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of figured out, and it's something that England are, I don't know if they believe it yet, but that he says that if you hit the top of off with a little bit of nibble and do that 5 balls out of 6, you're going to be good anywhere in the world.
It's almost as if he's been watching Mohammed Abbas.
Yeah, exactly. And there are bowlers who show this, like, time after time in England, and yet we do, and in a way rightly still, because that has been England's failings in India and Australia at times. We have this obsession with pace, but you see Abbas has done it, Jason Holt has done it, Tim Murtaugh's done it, Vernon Philander's done it. All have done it in Test cricket, in England especially, but Vernon Philander has shown you can do it in South Africa. He's done it in Australia. Like, you can be, and also he's not, while he's not Archer or Wood quick, he's brisk enough. He seems like he's probably about what the pace that Broad is, and obviously we all know how good Broad is. So yeah, I think there's reason to be very excited. I mean, you don't take that many wickets without being a very skillful bowler. So yeah,
I mean, his first class record really is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think in the last 3 since the start of 2017, he's taken 180-ish first class wickets at like 19. So he's someone to be very, very excited by.